What is the American Vaping Association?
The American Vaping Association was formed after I spent about 3 years as the volunteer legislative director for CASA, the US's largest consumer group. AVA was formed with the intention not of representing the industry, but for advocating for it as a whole, with the belief that when you have a market where small and medium-sized businesses can build new businesses, improve their products, innovate, that is the market that's going to have the most smokers voluntarily choosing to use these products to quit and improve their health.
Where some organizations, are education focused and that kind of thing, yours is very legislative oriented, is it not?
Legislative and media. We're very happy to be probably the most quoted organization in the US on vaping. We also focus, yes, legislatively, state and federal. We have been guiding vendors in meeting district directors, meeting their congressmen, what to say, what not to say, often attending those meetings with the business owners to calm their nerves. And so we're essentially, if something needs to get done, we try to do it.
Would you characterize these regulations as industry killing?
These FDA regulations are indeed industry killing. This is not regulation. This is so far from regulation. This is tantamount to prohibition. Yes, not every single product on the market is going to be banned, but it's going to end up being 99.9% of them being removed from the market. That's prohibition, not regulation. Public health is supposed to be about saving lives. The FDA, their mission is supposed to be about saving lives, improving health. But this issue, and so many other tobacco issues, it becomes puritanism, not public health.
Explain to our viewers the different efforts that are going on with the amendments, the Cole Bishop and the Cole and everything else. I know a lot of people find it confusing. There are certain people that advocate one thing and certain other people advocate the other, and then there's a whole group of people saying, no, let's work on both. And what is going on to help fix the FDA problem?
Congress is only going to come back for a couple weeks at the end of the year, if that, and that's it for Congress this year. The session ends. Any bill that has been introduced over the past 2 years that does not reach the finishing line, that bill's gone. It has to be reintroduced. So right now, our only opportunity to modernize the predicate date is in what's known as the House Agriculture Appropriations Bill. And that bill contains what's known as the Cole Bishop Amendment. That's a bipartisan amendment sponsored by Representative Tom Cole, a Republican from Oklahoma, Representative Stafford Bishop, a Democrat from Georgia in a rural district, and they teamed up because they recognized that if the predicate date is not moved, businesses in their district and businesses across the country will go out of business. And that amendment would not only modernize the predicate date, but it would also update FDA standards, add safety features, add safety regulations, add advertising restrictions that are reasonable and may withstand court scrutiny. And our goal is when Congress comes back post-election, they have to pass what's known as the omnibus funding bill. That is a gigantic, monstrous funding bill. And we need the Cole Bishop Amendment, which is in one of those appropriations bills now, to make it to that finishing line. And so what we are encouraging here at the SFATA conference, what we're encouraging every day as we go across the country with the Right to Vape tour, is business owners need to go see their congressman, go see their congressman's district director, and impart the message. We don't need you just to support it. We don't need you just to be a yes vote if it ever comes up for a vote. We need you to go to leadership and say, please, we need you to include the change of the predicate date, or else all these businesses in my district are going to go away.
This is not then the legislation aspect. This is the rider, basically.
Everything is legislation, but the actual piece of legislation, HR 2058, which would simply modernize the predicate date, and that's it. That bill is not going to reach the finishing line this year. It did not make it out of committee. It gained 79 co-sponsors. It was a great way of gathering up support, and so we know when we want to have 77 legislators that we think we can convince to go to leadership, we can look at that list of 2058 sponsors. So it was an important vehicle. It is not going to pass this year. It could get reintroduced this year, or rather next year. My hope, though, is that it's not necessary because we get the Cole Bishop Amendment in the final omnibus bill and signed by the president.
If you can't kill a law, if you can't change a law, then defund the law. Is that still the core of Cole Bishop?
Yeah, so how a rider works is the Congress says, unless an agency does this, or unless an agency interprets a law to say this, you cannot spend any money. And so the way Cole Bishop works is that unless the FDA modernizes that February 15th, 2007 predicate date, updates it to August 8th of 2016, they cannot spend any money regulating the newly regulated quote-unquote tobacco products, which includes vapor products.
That's the way things get done in Washington, isn't it?
Oftentimes, especially nowadays, where Congress cannot agree on anything, Republicans can't even agree with each other. There's 30 or so Republicans that simply won't vote for a budget because they're angry about the amounts spent in the bill. And so the rider process is where a lot of policy does get done.
Where are the Republicans on this issue? You would think this would be a natural issue. You have taxes, you have industry-killing legislation, and yet it seems quiet.
In the House, we have a lot of Republican support. Once they have a meeting with a business owner and they see big government coming in and killing businesses in their district, they are apt to support. There are plenty of Republicans that haven't co-sponsored 2058, but they have come out privately and said, if this comes up for a vote, I'm on your side. We do not need, at this juncture, we don't need people holding press conferences saying, we love these products, we need to save them. What we really need is those private conversations going on behind closed doors saying that we need to make this happen. Because you know what's interesting? August 8th of 2018, that is 3 months or so before the 2018 midterm election. So with Democrats, a huge chunk of the Democratic Senate is going to be up for re-election in 2018. Do they really want to close down thousands of businesses 3 months before an election? And in midterm elections, Democrats especially are vulnerable because it's Republicans that actually go out and vote during the midterms. They are the ones that are energized. So that is a message that we're trying to get through. Not only is a modernization of the predicate date needed to save small businesses, to protect consumer choice, to improve public health, but hey, if you want to protect your numbers in the Senate, if you want to protect your seat, well then, if you're expecting a close race, we could push it over the finishing line just with the anger that's going to be out there.
Is there a political position? If you are a vapor, should you be considering voting for Trump?
It's a difficult question because we can expect that Hillary Clinton will continue President Obama's policies on this issue. President Obama has never made a speech, never said a word about vapor products, but he sat back when there were thousands of phone calls coming to the White House warning about the FDA regulation, about how he should save this industry and its consumers from prohibition. President Obama did nothing. And his OMB allowed that regulation to proceed. And so there is good reason to fear that just as President Obama has opposed moves by Congress to modernize the predicate date, that Hillary Clinton will as well. But Donald Trump is also a wild card because he's a teetotaler. He doesn't drink, he doesn't smoke. But he is, if he pulls off a miracle and gets elected, he is not going to likely be a fan of Obama-era regulations. So if you are a single issue voter and you're not considering third party, if you want to vote one party or the other, the orange guy may in fact be your best bet in terms of saving this industry, but that's a choice for you to make. I think when it comes to the Senate, the House, local politics, we're going to have a lot more single issue voters, and that's where you can better gauge, not always, but better gauge how a politician is behaving towards this issue.